Welcome back to What Would You Ask podcast. My guest today, and I'm real excited that she's here. She was a member of the Big Break Atlantis, and it first aired May 14th, 2012. It was filmed at the Atlantis Paradise Resort, I believe, in the Bahamas. And the winner got the exemption into the 2012 LPGA Tour event, or into one. I'm not sure which one it was, but check and see. And a bunch of cash and prizes and all that stuff. This player was, I got to tell you, these women are as impressive or more impressive in some cases with length, and then they have short games, and it's much, I don't know, I shouldn't say that because I don't want to have guys writing in, but very cerebral and strategic and always thinking and asking the right questions. And this one is one of them. Really got good game, multi-layers of who she is, which I think is really cool and interesting as well. But Aubrey McCormick, welcome to What Would You Ask podcast. Happy you're here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So we're going to jump right into the quick hitters. These are questions that are sent in from our viewers and listeners. And then we're going to take you through, Aubrey, the process, right? They want to know everything about how were you a Big Break fan? How did you try out? All of that stuff. And then we'll talk a little bit about the challenges and the events themselves. And then we really want to find out what's going on with you today. Sound good?
Yep, sounds good.
All right. Mike from Cary, North Carolina. Did the production aspect of Big Break affect your game?
I don't think it really affected my game, but you have to get used to cameras, like 20 plus cameras in your face. You have to get used to being mic'd all the time. And then you also, you start just getting used to the fact that people can hear everything you're saying and are following your every move.
Brian from Mississippi says, could you take us through a typical day? We know that you guys were up early and then had interviews at night. Take us through a typical day.
Yeah, so a typical day was usually waking up at, probably 3:34 in the morning, getting mic'd, having breakfast, and all of this is taped. So from the minute you wake up and get ready to go, you're mic'd. Then you go into hair and makeup, and that was every day we got our hair and makeup done. And then we'd have breakfast, and we'd get ready to go to the course. And usually we found out about the challenge right there on the course. So we didn't really have a heads up on what we were going to do that day. We'd go through the challenge, and then after that, we'd usually take a little break, whether it was walking on the beach or just sitting out having a cocktail by the pool. And then we'd go back to the hotel, and they always had a bar for us. So I picked up on that pretty quick, that we were exhausted from competition all day and just being up so early. And then, of course, the open bar was there. So some players took advantage of it. Others didn't. I would say I was one that didn't, because I knew it was going to just, I'd probably just start running my mouth during interviews and saying things. So I just stuck to water usually on those happy hours. And then we'd have dinner, and then we went into interviews, probably ending around 10, 11 o'clock at night. So
jeez, that is a long day.
Yeah.
Wow.
You do that for 17 days straight, you're going to be pretty tired.
Andrew from New Haven, Connecticut asks, what was the biggest misconception about Big Break?
I would say the biggest misconception is that I think people think they're going to go on that show and they're going to be an overnight celebrity or an overnight success, but it's very short-lived if you're not genuine, I would say. So people can get hot in the pan quick and have some success, pick up some sponsorships, but if it's not real, that fades pretty quick. So I think, yeah. Interesting.
Because that was, and that was Golf Channel's highest rated show forever. I mean, it was just one of their highest shows. And I've heard this. I don't have empirical data on it, but I heard that the reruns, the Monday binge watching thing that they've been doing on Golf Channel is like also in the top 3. I've heard that. Again, it's not, I haven't seen the real data on it, but I have heard that from reliable sources that that's getting really solid reviews. But that makes sense, right? If you're not authentic and you're not real, and you play the character, let's say, on the show, and it's not who you are, then it would be short-lived, and the pan would also be no longer hot. Lindsay from Brooklyn, New York said, you said you don't know what this means to me, in quotes. What did it mean to you being selected by Big Break?
So I'm thinking that's when they told me I was on the show and I was sitting
was.
at the dinner table. So I said that because I had been working my tail off for years, playing pro golf and fundraising money to be able to be out there. And the moment that I actually got on, Brendan Havens, he was one of the producers, and he knew how much it meant to me because I had tried out for the show 2 years prior. And he knew that this was kind of the last time I was going to try out. And so it was him on the phone letting me know I made it on the show. And it just meant a lot to me because I had worked pretty hard for years and tried out, and it was something I really wanted to do. So just finding that out, it's like anything, if you work really hard for something and it doesn't happen and it doesn't happen, and then finally it does, it just hits this pinnacle in your mind of like, wow, I can't believe what I'm being told. So I just sort of break down and start crying.
I thought it was a very honest, talk about authenticity. That was pretty cool. You were just, that your reaction was just awesome. Diane from San Antonio, what or who annoyed you the most on Big Break? I just read them here, Aubrey.
That's a tough one. I think I stayed pretty neutral the whole time, but man, I mean, there were a couple people that annoyed me. And I'll just keep it at the fact that I just think that people should stay in their lane and not treat others poorly. So just the bullying and the snide comments here and there, and just kind of thinking they're better than others. There were a couple people like that. And, it was those types really just, I almost feel allergic to that type of person. So I just stayed clear of it. But yeah, that kind of behavior, I would say that I'll just characterize that.
Well said.
Yeah.
Zach from Bar Harbor, Maine. Once eliminated, where did you go and what did you do?
Yeah. So once I got eliminated, I actually, I went and got myself some candy. And I literally, because I love sugar. So I went and got myself some candy and went and laid out by the pool and had some cocktails. And I think I went on a party boat and just went and had some fun. And then the rest of the time it was like just staying at a nice resort, relaxing. And, you have to take it in as like, this is a huge opportunity. Even though I got eliminated, it was still nice to be in the Bahamas at a nice resort,
Did they have a course that you guys can play separate from the ongoing event?
No, we were kept separate from the rest of the competition just because it was over for us. I did end up getting brought back into the show to compete for a challenge. But once you're done with the show, you're done golfing, essentially, and you just enjoy the island.
Oh, that's cool.
You basically go on vacation.
Nice. I mean, It's a nice way to treat you once you're done.
Yeah.
Scott from Huntington Beach, California. It's a great spot. Talking about great spots. What is a sustainability professional?
Yeah, so I get this question a lot, especially in the golf industry, but I would say a sustainability professional is somebody that puts the environment and social impact at the forefront of their work. So they're not just driven by the bottom line and return on investment and driving revenue. So basically, they're not just focused on making a profit. They're focused on running a successful business, focused on making a profit, but weaving in how does this business impact the environment? How does this business impact society? So sustainability is just another term for environmental and social impact woven into the business, bottom line.
And that means everything to you, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
Yeah. So let's just touch on that a little bit, because I have a follow-up, because that guy stole my question, Scott. I'll be writing to you. You were also invited to the White House to attend the Sports and Climate Change Roundtable. What was that? I mean, I go to the White House probably just every other week, but what was that like for you to experience?
Yeah, for me, I mean, I was the only person from the golf industry sitting at this roundtable, and I was sitting there with Hall of Fame NBA players, NHL players. I was sitting there with leaders of global organizations in sports. And I found it to be quite interesting because we were addressing the Obama administration on how sports can play a huge role in impacting the environment from a climate change perspective. So, I remember sitting there and having my name, right in front of me and a buzzer to press when I had something to say. And I did. And I just felt like this is the biggest opportunity because it's putting golf kind of on in the conversation with other sports. And at that time, golf was sort of lagging in the conversation around climate change. I would say they still are a bit, because it's some people don't want to talk about that topic. But it meant a lot because we were successful in getting the administration to announce National Green Sports Day, which is October 6th every year. And so our efforts actually led to something. And I think when that happens, you feel pretty proud. And then on top of that, we got to play basketball on the White House court, which was pretty cool. And I mean, anytime you can go to the White House and actually push policy to make a difference, that's pretty exciting. So yeah, it was a cool day. And I mean, getting an email that you've been asked to come to the White House that doesn't happen every day.
No, that is, what an experience that is. I mean, that's so cool. A couple of follow-ups. One is, how long did it take to get through security? And I'm hoping the answer is it's pretty detailed, and it's not like I walked in and I was going, hey, is there someone I should see here in the lobby? I hope it's a little bit secure. And secondly, did you get the chance to see the president or anybody in the cabinet or anybody like that?
Yeah, so it probably took like 35 minutes to get through. And I was able to see his entire administration, and
Wow.
I didn't see the president. So it was more, I mean, it was his direct reports. But yeah, I don't believe he was in town when we were there. So, but I mean, the Green Sports Day, he announced that, I would say, within 4 months of us meeting. So
Wow.
It happened pretty quickly.
Pretty quickly. Nothing happens fast like that in
Yeah.
Washington, right? That's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Quick programming note. If you have a question for your favorite big break star, you can send it over to us and get it into the quick hitters segment. What would you ask on Twitter and Instagram and all the places my kids know that I don't? You can send it to our website at whatwouldyoask.com. Upcoming episodes, we have Pam Garrity and Cindy Miller from Ladies Only. We have Toph Peterson and I forget who the other, and Anthony Cazeta from Myrtle Beach, and a bunch more people. Andy Walker from Ireland and Brian Cooper from Greensbrier, a bunch of folks coming on. So see, I just keep working for you guys. Just want you to know that. So Aubrey, let's talk about the journey, right? Were you a big break fan? I know obviously you're playing golf professionally. What inspired you to try out for big break?
Yeah, so I actually started playing golf pretty late. So, and I had a full scholarship to college, and I had turned pro right after college, but I started playing when the first big breaks were coming out. So I watched most all the big breaks, and I saw, I saw how it helped some people's careers, and then I saw how it just kind of boosted a little bit of fame in some people. But I really wanted to do it because I wanted to actually get on tour. And, the financial benefit of it was a huge bonus too, because it's tough to be out on tour. A lot of players, they're just trying to get the money together just to pay for entry fees. So for me, I wanted to get on the show because not only had I been watching it, but I just knew that it was an opportunity to be able to show my talent. But the timing of it was interesting because I actually stopped playing golf and went into working for an environmental organization. And then, of course, I get put on the show. So I was like in between like golf and working full time. So it was a very interesting dynamic, just even in my head, of like what I cared about and still, being rooted to golf, and how do I combine those two? So I kind of saw it as an opportunity to talk about what I cared about too.
How did you balance the prep? So they tell you on, in 1 month, and I'm sure you have a little bit of time anyway, weeks, maybe a couple weeks, maybe a month before you go. Do you have any prep time for it? Because if you're finding out you're going and you're working, you might not be working as hard on the golf course as you have been in the past. Did you have prep time to prepare?
Yeah, but not that much. I think I had a month, maybe 3 weeks. And I was actually in Jamaica for a week-long vacation when I found out. So I was on vacation, and then I came back, and then I had to get a root canal on all my wisdom teeth, or no, not a root canal, but I had to get my wisdom teeth removed.
Okay.
So I had to do all of that by the time I flew out for the big break. And I actually, when I got there, I had gauze in the back of my mouth and no one knew that, except the producers, and they'd laugh when I had to turn around and spit blood, literally.
Jeez.
So, I was just praying I didn't get dry sockets or something. Maybe that's too much information for people, but
We'll do any breaking news on this show. No problem, Aubrey. That's something nobody knows about. That's interesting. I mean,
yeah, so the prep time for me, no, I didn't really have too much prep time, but I made it happen.
So before we get into the actual events and getting there, and people want to know about the experience of meeting all the players and the place, the resort itself, and you guys didn't have, I don't think, weather problems in where you were, but I want to talk about the pressure a little bit. It seems like a recurring theme for big break contestants. I've talked to people that are playing currently on the LPGA Tour, PGA Tour, and they still say they've never felt pressure like they have with the big break challenges and those swings. And they've listed many, many reasons. First, did you feel that same pressure that they're talking about?
I felt pressure. I didn't feel as much pressure like trying to qualify for the US Open. Like I think that's the ultimate pressure, but I think I felt it at first, but then once you get to know the camera guys and women, and you get to know the producers, kind of fades away, for me at least, because I just sort of saw it for what it was. But yeah, I mean, in the beginning, and then especially when you get challenges where you have to break glass or you have to hit it over a wall, like that challenge. Oh yeah, I mean, and you saw it on the show. I just completely messed that one up. So yeah, I would say, you're definitely dealing with more pressure than usual.
I've heard, a couple guys talk about weather. They've talked about the cameras. They've talked about the fact that they were playing poorly when they came into it, and they not necessarily were playing to their best potential, and that concerned them. Or, I remember Brian Cooper saying that he kept pulling his driver to the left, and he couldn't shake it, and that's what happened to him on the show. And other guys were playing really well. So that can add pressure. The other thing that really came up was downtime, right, between shots. There's setup time that the cameras have to do. It's not necessarily the cameras just being there, but it's actually taking a shot and going to sit down and then coming back an hour later or two,
Mm-hmm.
and having to take another shot. And that's the pressure that I can't even, as a golfer, that's, first of all, I can call myself a golfer is, anyway, I'm a 12 handicap hacker, but I'm used to just tee to green. I can't imagine going out and saying, hey, Nick, your shot, and then taking one shot and going back, sitting down for 90 minutes on a bench or grass, and then come on back again. Whoa, that's, that is real pressure. Did you experience that as well? I imagine you did.
Yeah, definitely. Especially when we didn't know what the challenge was. So they'd say, okay, you've got between 60 and 100 yards. Go to the range and practice that shot for 10 minutes. So then you don't know, are we hitting, a wedge? Are we hitting a knockdown, 7-iron? Like, you just don't know. So I think that was tough, but also, yeah, like you hit a shot. That's why I chose to go first a lot, because I just want to get it done. But yeah, if you have to sit there and wait, you really are sitting there for hours before you get to hit a shot. And so, I mean, yeah, it's nerve-wracking.
So let's touch on the glass break. And really, I just want to know what the experience was like. So you pull up to it and you see it. Is it just what we see on TV? It looks exactly the same. Was the glass bigger, smaller to you, farther away, closer? Tell us a little bit about your experience with it.
Yeah, I would say everybody's just watching you walk up. So two of you walk up. It's a bit staged, because they have to get the intensity. But then I would say it was about what I figured it would be distance-wise. But the glass, it's like surrounded by wood paneling, right? So I think when I hit it, it shot off wood paneling.
You hit the frame, and then
Natalia
hit the glass after. If you would have beat her if that was, a quarter inch to the right.
Exactly. And so what happens is you just stand there, and if you don't hit the glass, you just sort of feel like, you suck, essentially. And so it's just a mind game. All of it's a mind game. And if you could keep your mind solid and just focus on those shots, I mean, it's fine. But yeah, I mean, for me, it was pretty much what I expected.
I don't know who it was. One of the gentlemen that I was interviewing told me that he hit the frame and it cracked the glass. And so that counted, right? He didn't know it at first, but then they told him. Do they even look at yours? Do they stop the play? Does somebody come run over and hold you up? Or how do they? Have you seen it though, where they've hit the frame and the glass is cracked a little bit? And
No, I've never seen that.
Yeah. So it's happened, I think, on a couple of, I know I watch so much big break tape because that's what I do. It has happened a couple times, and I'm just wondering how that, somebody's got to go in and check it. I don't know if they can do that from cameras or whatever, but that's happened. And then you had an interesting new teammate when the teams didn't even out, and Yanni Sen how was it like meeting her? Was that a cool experience? What was she like? Tell everybody about that.
Yeah, so she was really sweet, and I had actually been training with numerous top players the year prior when I was actually competing and playing. So I don't really get enamored by people too much. I was just like, okay, this is great, because if I hit a bad shot, I'm going to leverage this, which I ended up doing. Mm-hmm. And I had no shame about it, because that's the game.
That's right.
Like,
sure.
I think they called him a Yonigan, yes. Right?
Mulligan, yeah.
So, yeah, right. The Mulligans. Yeah. I was like, I'll take that Yonigan. I'll take that one too. And I had no shame about it. And I actually watched the reruns and just sort of laughed at myself. Like, I really was very happy to have her on my team, especially because I think no one chose myself and who I think Christina, whoever I was on the team with, no one chose us in that breakfast. Right. So it was sort of like, well, might as well, take advantage of this. But like I said, it's a mind game, right? So
I found it interesting that in all the tape that I watch, that Kelly Keeney, I've seen the Yanni, the two girls with the same name and they got different last. It'll come to me. But other LPGA professionals come on, and in some cases they're lights out. In other cases, you guys are right with them. Like, like, was it Yanni that drove and like everybody was outdrove her? I don't know. It was you outdrove her.
Yeah.
It was like, I think when I asked the question about misconception, you knocked the ball out of the park. But you guys are players, and I think the good thing about Big Break as a fan, I remember my Tuesday nights out with buddies and going to play Golden Tee. You remember that game, Golden Tee?
Yeah.
And you play that and grab a beer or dinner or something and watch Big Break. And it just was it was the lure of can I get to that level? And that's what Big Break's approach was. It was like, it wasn't about, we didn't know at the time that all you guys are on tours and you're all professionals. It was kind of like, so I can go into this thing if I'm picked and play, and
That's a good point. Yeah.
and so it really was mass appeal. And I think that's what made it. But then we go and watch this thing and like, these guys are working the ball, the right and left to right. They're just, and your swings, everybody's follow through is perfect and their balance is perfect. And we would laugh about that. We're like, yeah, we're never, ever getting selected for these kind of shows. But I also realized, back to my original point, that you guys are, I'm not, again, they're jumping on. Kelly Keeney comes on the show and they have to do a circle. I forgot what this was on, but she would shoot it onto a par 3, and wherever she landed, they were going to make a circle around it. Well, they're hopefully going to be tight to the pin. I think that would be what the goal here was. And she hit maybe like 27 feet from the pin. We know Kelly can play. She's won tournaments and stuff. That's not the question. But the fact of the matter is the next 2 girls after her were easily inside her at 13 and 10 feet. So it's not like and again, I'm not taking, LPGA players are up here for the reason, and everybody else is shooting to be that. But that margin or that variance between where you are as a professional and where they are, it's not the biggest gap in the world. Fair?
Yeah, that's fair. And I would say that that's another thing with golf is you could be a player that is in the top, let's say 5% in the world, but to get to the top 0.01% in the world, which is, those 5 players at the top, and don't quote my statistics here, but it's not that different. It's consistency, and it's being able to execute shots under pressure at all times. I remember playing with Suzanne Pedersen. I've always respected her game. And we went out and played around, and, here I am thinking I'm keeping up and I'm hitting the drives, neck to neck with her. And then she holes out a 7-iron from, 170. We're playing Bay Hill. She holes out a 7-iron from the middle of the fairway. And I'm just looking at her like, and to her, that's just the way it's done, because she kind of laughed. She knew I thought I had a leg up on her, and she was not going to let that happen. So, I didn't have that, she's, of course, I think she was pushing even number 1 in the world at the time. And that's the difference. I guess that's the best example I could give, is like, there's just an edge and there's a consistency. And I think you're right about Big Break players, is they're professionals, and man, do they have game, but they also are relatable because they do hit bad shots. Their nerves are showing. They look human, right? So I love the show, and I'm surprised they don't bring it back, quite honestly.
Yeah, I'm surprised too. I know that NBC pulled it because of the production cost was so extreme, but it was the number 1 show. I think there might be something going on with all these reruns that went out, and to have them rate so high. And it was a great show. I mean, I was going to I'll give you a quick. I had an opportunity to play in a 8-some, if you will, 2 foursomes with Greg Norman, probably 10 years ago, and we were playing down in Florida at the Medalist, and one of the par 3s there has the short version is like 160, and then it goes up and does a turn left, and there's water, and then it's 210 to 208 to where the pin was. And so Norman's watching, and everybody is hitting it just up straight as far as they can go to the end, and then they'll putt over, but they're not crossing the water to where the pin is on this L-shaped green. And he literally walks over to the cart that's in front of ours and looks in it and reaches in and grabs a club, pulls it out, drops a ball, and said, and hit it. And then says, guys, that's where the pin is. And then went back and put the thing back. I mean, he grabbed somebody else's club. I watched it and just dropped the ball on the grass and swung and hit it. Now, I think he put it 15, 18 feet. But I mean, that's just unbelievable. I talked about that forever, to the point on the plane back that my buddy Scott was like, Nick, I get it. I mean, I get the guy's great. Could you shut up?
Stop, man.
Yeah, like it can't be that important to you. Are there other things you could think about? I was really impressed. It blew me away. I mean, it blew me away that a guy, I've been around athletes, and like you, I'm not starstruck, at all. I grew up in, just outside New York City. And so I've seen athletes and politicians and stars and all of that stuff. So it never really did anything for me. But that moment, just the ability to cavalierly drop a ball on the ground with somebody else's club, that he didn't know if the guy was, 5'5" and or 6'8", and had these, custom clubs. He just went up there and swung and hit it, and it was really impressive. That's, I was thinking, what if he grabbed the left-handed club? But let's not go there. Yeah. That would have been funny, because Greg, do you problem? Let's talk about the flop shot. So you talked about the what was it called again? The Yonigan? Yeah, the Yonigan. The funny thing about that was you missed this. You hit the wall. I mean, it's going to happen. What are you going to do, right? And so you immediately go, I'll use the Yonigan. And you were saying that confidently. Like you said, you were not apologetic about it. That's part of the game. That's one of the tools you can use. Why not? Yeah. And then she came over, and I don't think she knocked it stiff, but she at least got it over the wall for you guys. And then there was another comment I was going to make to you. The shot from the bunker you had to beat Natalia and get immunity. That was a great shot. Another confident shot by you. How are you feeling at this time? Because you're having some good shots, not so good shots. Are you feeling comfortable? This is just how golf is? Tell me about how you're feeling.
I would say that I get really hard on myself. And I think I got hard on myself after I chunked a couple of wedges. I know that I hit a great drive, dead center. I knew I was in a great position when we were playing with Yanni, I was in a great position to just hit it up on the green. But I knew my strengths were the bunker. I always have loved hitting sand shots. So that I felt confident with. But when I chunked those wedges, I got hard on myself because I knew I could do it. And I just, I decelerated, which it happens, right? But yeah, I think the ups and downs where you saw me hit good shots and then not so good shots, it was truly just a confidence thing. And that was probably due to not playing a lot, for that year that I was working, and just not having that edge that I usually had, where I would just step up and execute. I was just a bit, I don't want to say soft, but a little bit. Yeah.
What is your remembrances of the Solenei elimination match? I mean, you hit a good drive, you hit a good layup, you're striking. I mean, there's nothing wrong with how you played that hole. If I remember correctly, she went for it in 2 and came up to the fringe, right? So that obviously gave her advantage. But you just got beat on that one hole? What's your thoughts?
Well, my approach shot, again, my wedges.
Oh, it was short. That's right.
It was short in the bunker, and I knew I had to get it. I had to hole it out, really, because I knew she was going to make a birdie. So in my mind, being beat by a birdie wasn't, I got beat, but I also tried my hardest. But I just remember turning around and everybody was upset, even she was upset. It didn't seem like people were cheering against me. So I thought that was nice,
Yeah.
It felt like there was camaraderie, and respect on that. We just played some decent golf on that hole. And so I appreciated that the most, I would say.
One of the things that I found interesting, and you led off by telling everybody that you hadn't been playing in a while, but you didn't mention that unless I missed it. And I've seen these shows over and over and over. Someone mentioned as you were walking, hugging uh, Solenei at the end, somebody mentioned, Aubrey hasn't played competitive golf in over a year, on one of the voiceovers. And that's the first time I heard it until obviously you mentioned that now. But you think that you would, if it was me, I would be waving the flag every time I hit it, duffed a shot. Well, I haven't been playing in a year.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. I'm sure I wouldn't, but that's a fact that would be, understandable of why you hit that wedge fat or not consistent as everybody else, or not even everybody else, because other people are duffing it too. But it was interesting when I found that out. It wasn't from you; it was from somebody else. That was, it's amazing how much she did here and how well she did, and she hasn't been playing in a year. And I was like, whoa, I didn't even, and I wrote that down to make sure. But you offered that at the beginning, so I guess we can move on. So it's over, and you have. So this is the interesting part to all of us, me and all the viewers and listeners. It's over. You walk down, you do that walk of shame or whatever they call it. And it's funny. Sometimes people are walking and they're going towards like the water. And I've always thought to myself, what, just hang on 5 more seconds.
Jump in, man.
Yeah, he's going to walk in. One of these guys is going to jump in. I thought there was one Moose from Big Break 1 was on Reunion, which is Big Break 7. I don't even know if you ever saw either one of these, but the reunion show, there's a bridge and he's walking across it and he leans over, and he was a funny guy. And I literally thought he would have dove in, and I want to interview him. We have it scheduled, I think, but I want to ask him what that would have been the ultimate, like just belly flopped it into the pond. Would you?
That'd be funny.
So you do that walk. Is a producer waiting there for you to interview you? Cause they do get that, your feedback. And then what happens? Is there a piece of paper they hand you and said, these are the rules now, stay in your room. We'll come and get you. You can go to the pool. Tell us how does that work?
Yeah. So for my situation, they interview you immediately after you finish the hole, because they know you're going to be high rolling on emotion. So when they interviewed me, of course I start crying, and the producers knew what questions to ask me to make me cry. And then it was actually quite interesting that the producer interviewing me started tearing up. And so that made me even tear up more. And then after you're interviewed, then they ask you to walk away. So that part's not really staged in a sense of like walk away and then do the interview. You get interviewed immediately, you walk away, and then it's over. Your filming's over for that day. And then you go back to the hotel or you go to the pool. I can't remember exactly where I went after that day, or after that, after I walked off, but you're not handed anything. You sign all your paperwork, before you even get on the show. So.
Do they plan your days though? Is there anything that they just tell you enjoy the resort, or is it like we're going to be going on a sightseeing? You said you went on a party cruise or something, right? You did.
Yeah. So you have to be contained, because since the show's filming, they don't want the hotel guests, really, some people kind of knew, but they want to keep it, you have to stick together.
Right.
So all of the players that were eliminated, we were told, okay, today you're going to go on a fishing boat, or today you're going to go on a party boat to another island, or you're going to lay by the pool. So it was a lot. We just had to stick in the group, the ones that were eliminated. But yeah, we got freedom and flexibility in the suite, but each of us had our own hotel room up in the presidential suite. So it was like a hallway with rooms, and
that's cool.
We had the entire floor of the.
So you can move freely on the floor between the rooms and go see each other. That's cool. You're not quarantined like we are today.
No.
Got it. So tell us what you're doing today.
Yes, I'd say a lot. But yeah, so I live just outside of Portland, Oregon. And I am the regional manager for the Forest Stewardship Council. And we're a global nonprofit that is fighting deforestation in the world. So my region is the West. So since I'm based in Oregon, I manage Oregon, Washington, California, Wyoming, Montana, and Colorado.
Wow.
It's a very big region. And then I also do some consulting work still. Given that I worked with the Olympic Club on sustainability and Mauna Kea Resort out in Hawaii, I did a lot of work around their sustainability case studies and really making the case for it in the golf industry. So I still consult a bit, but I recently just finished a tribal relations graduate certificate program at Portland State, where I'm starting to work a lot with tribal, with tribes in the area. And I see a gap. I see a big opportunity to help tribes in the golf industry. So this is something that I've started exploring to build a business around as well. So that's kind of cooking in the works, but I think, yeah, I'm always going to stay tied to golf. I just want to do something that makes a really big impact, along with my job with the Forest Stewardship Council.
What does deforestation mean? I mean, are we trying to preserve the forest and have them continue to thrive?
Mm-hmm.
And how is that battle fought? Like, how are you winning that battle or trying to win that battle?
Yeah, so around the world, it's called illegal logging which essentially is deforestation. So we're seeing that happen on a global scale, whether it's the Amazon rainforest and they're cutting it down for harvesting the timber and selling it into the timber market to make furniture, for example, or they're cutting down forests to raise cattle. So we're seeing, whether it's agriculture or it's for timber products, it can either be managed sustainably or it can be managed traditionally, which is, they call it industrial logging. So what Forest Stewardship Council does, it's a standard and a market-based tool that allows for forest owners to actually have a forest management plan that they harvest the timber sustainably, which protects the biodiversity and the animals, the wildlife, protects indigenous people's rights. It protects the actual supply chain where the timber's harvested all the way down to a product that you hold in your hand, let's say like a picture frame, for example. And what that looks like is no pesticides being sprayed on the land and no clear cutting, which essentially means going in and just chopping all the trees down to the stumps. It takes 20 to 40 years to grow a tree. So you could imagine if forests aren't managed properly, then we're sitting with, I mean, you'll see it driving through the Pacific Northwest, just bald patches on the sides of mountains. That's usually because they've just clear cut. So FSC protects against that.
That's really cool. That's like a mission, right? That's more than just a job. That's really cool. I mean, that's something to get your self behind and get up every day early to because it's meaningful, right? That's pretty neat. Well, I want to thank you for your time today. It's been awesome. You have proven to me not that you had to, that you are multifaceted and multi-layered. You're a great golfer, but there's a lot to you, and that makes you really interesting and really cool. And not cool, but it is cool, and it's cool to me anyway. Thank you. I really appreciate your time today.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, take care.